Hello and welcome to another edition of eCommerce Odyssey podcast. I'm joined today by Rosie Bailey from Nibble. Now, your tool is new and exciting, so perhaps you'd like to explain to us a bit about what it does.
Do you know, I've never been on an Odyssey before.
An Odyssey? Well, we're all on an Odyssey.
We're all on our own personal Odyssey.
It took me ages to think of the name.
It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So Nibble is negotiation technology, which makes it sound very grand. I could tell you it was AI powered, but really what it is a chatbot that can sit on a retailer's website, on an e-commerce website, and negotiate a personalized deal with your customer. Critically, it makes the customer smile in the process of giving them a personalized price.
Okay, so I have to ask, because I'm, my first thought when I saw this was, is it a gimmick? Is it the kind of thing that because as a retailer and as a consultant, I see loads and loads of tools. Is this something that I need to, is it a flash in the pan, or is it something that I need to invest in?
Yes, and we've intentionally made it lighthearted, so we're probably a victim of our own positioning in that sense, and it's totally fair to say, is this going to be a bit like spin the wheel for 10% off and other such very naff things? The critical thing is it's sort of rooted in the behavioral science behind the experience that means that it works. Because it engages your customer in a conversation, your customer is empowered to say what they like about the product, what they want, what they would like differently. Whereas the retailer at the same time is totally in control of the promotion. It's only displayed when you want to, it's only displayed to people that you want to have a conversation with. Once the conversation starts, we find about 25% add to basket. And that's just because you've been bought in at that point. It's actually fundamental prospect theory, if you're very into Daniel Kahneman and thinking fast, thinking slow. Mm-hmm. But it's to do with the fact that once you've engaged in a conversation, the customer's bought in to getting that deal, but at the same time they'll do things like say, can I get a bigger discount if I buy two at the same time, and things like that.
So what proportion, what kind of deals do you think, what works best with the system? How do you get the most out of it?
So we've done a comprehensive trial with Lucky Voice, who sell karaoke machines.
Mm-hmm. Mark Lane Fox, no doubt.
Yes, exactly, years ago. And we found 1 in 5 of their customers say, if I add a second microphone at the point of purchase, can I get a better discount?
Right, okay.
And so that's just another way of doing the bundle. But of course, on e-commerce, it's often advertised as karaoke machine or karaoke machine and second microphone, right? There's 2 different SKUs, if you like. Whereas what this is doing is allowing that person to add that second microphone really at the point of purchase. So really sort of traveling with.
So you're automating bundling, basically.
You can automate bundling. You can do gift with purchase. You can just give someone the nudge they need. We're on a watch website, and in watches, negotiating the price is quite common, especially on marketplaces. And what it tends to be is people just want to feel like they've won. They want to have a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a bit over the line, and then they say, I think I've done quite well.
Right. So is it a bit like, I don't know if because some people, my answer to everything's always marketplaces, right? No matter what the question is, it's either international trade or marketplaces. So I always think on eBay, you have second chance offers. It's a little bit like that with a little bit like that.
And just the technology that you can do now through natural language is just so much better than it was when eBay was created. That the make an offer button is a very static, very slow experience, right? It can be SMS to SMS. It can take half a day to negotiate a deal. And if you look at, there's companies like Poshmark that have over 7 million users haggling every day, and Depop has 2 million. For these people, negotiating as part of the purchase is just integral to the experience and actually really fun and engaging. And so this is a sort of upgrade of eBay's make an offer button.
But is this like, okay, because you've got different classes of items. So something like Depop, and I don't know much about Depop, right? And it's is it secondhand? It's a clothing site.
Clothing,
right?
Yeah.
So they're not, okay, so you've got certain items which are unique items, right? Let's call them, unique by the extent of, things that
maybe vintage unique, or something.
They're not fungible. They're vintage or they're secondhand or they're used right now. So at which point, it is a kind of like, because an auction is to a certain extent a negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Whereas someone like me would quite specifically sell new items, which are, they're allegedly entirely identical. So therefore, and I think, to a certain extent, I think one of the reasons why Amazon did better than eBay is because, people just want to go onto a site and just buy at a price which is advertised. I mean, most people just buy, go. You don't want to, I don't want the hassle of necessarily having to haggle for things unless they're, do you find, would it work on, like a site, I mean, a large retailing site where people want a quick purchase and they don't necessarily want to.
Yes, it does, but not in every circumstance, right? Like the customer doesn't want to feel like, oh my God, I have to go through this process again, just to get the discount that you were always going to give me, right? It can't feel like that. And so it'll never be used on every single one of your products at the same time. It will be used because that customer is logged in and a loyal customer. They have the opportunity to negotiate, but other people don't. Or it'll be used because mid-season you're overstocked with one item, but you don't want to put the website on sale, so you just put the negotiate button on the item that's overstocked to bring your stock levels down to where you need it to. So you'll use it in specific examples, but you won't use it everywhere and all the time.
It's not an extra stage to because I would be. I mean, I don't know if you know some of these. Did you come across? What was it called? Flubbit? No.
No.
Flubbit was a reverse auction marketplace. The problem with reverse auction marketplaces is that they add, basically, effectively, you're adding an extra stage to the.
Just adding friction.
Yeah, just adding friction, and so it's not you don't feel this adds friction to the process
because it's about a minute. It's very, very slow, very, very quick compared to any other form of negotiation that you might have seen.
Yeah,
so it's definitely.
But any kind of thing, I don't know what the people come up with all kinds of figures about how if you start your page doesn't load in 2 seconds, you've lost the customer.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
A minute is forever in internet time.
A minute is forever in internet time, unless you compare it to the journey that a customer goes. And I was talking to someone, he bought some Puma trainers last week. And he went to the Puma website, he found the trainers he wanted to. He then spent 5 minutes looking for a discount code or the same Puma trainers on Zalando and several other websites. So when you compare it to that sort of purchase process, it is a ton quicker, more unique and more fun. So you're basically saying to your customer, I know there's voucher codes out there. I know there are marketplaces you can go to. And I know that you want to feel special. So let's have a conversation and see whether we can find a place to meet in the middle. So it adds friction, but relative to the bargain hunting, less.
What do you think in terms of conversion rate? How did it improve conversion rate?
So at Lucky Voice, conversion rate, it went up 50% from pre-COVID levels. So, and interestingly enough, the volumes of full price sales were constant year on year. And the increased sales were the ones that Nibble did, if that made sense.
Okay.
The numbers were less extreme, but they were still up on lockdown. And actually, funnily enough, everybody tried to buy a home karaoke kit in lockdown. And so our trial actually showed a 8% uplift on lockdown levels.
Okay. That's impressive. Maybe we'll give it a go.
Or maybe first time lucky. I don't know. But I think I'm not surprised when you see the chat. People, they like it. They love it. They have fun. They go, is that the best you can do? And occasionally, imbecile, why won't you offer me more? And, it's very...
How do you okay, so because I had to play with it, right? And I found that, I don't know, I can't remember what I got off, but it felt to me that I did it twice and I got different results. So is there a random element to it? You probably don't want to tell me the secret.
Couldn't possibly tell you the secret of the algorithm. Yes. That's intentional. So if you go to a marketplace and you negotiate with an individual, the result you get will depend on how that individual is feeling that day, whether they're optimistic, whether they've sold a lot, whether they're pissed off, that kind of thing. So it was important to us to give a little bit of a random element to it. And what you tend to find is people who are purchasing something significant in value or unusual for them, like a karaoke machine or a set of kitchen knives, they will come twice. A lot of them will come twice. And it was really important to us to give them the chance to come twice because there's something in negotiation speak called buyer's remorse. And it's that feeling when you bought that carpet after 10 cups of mint tea and then you walk away with it and you think, damn it, if they sold me this carpet, I must have overpaid. And so we wanted to give people the second chance. It's important to be honest with them, to give them the chance to do the best that they want to do.
Okay. So what kind of features are you planning in the future for this product?
So bundling will be out, proper bundling will be out in the next couple of weeks. And we're quite excited about that because there's a lot of things you can do with gift with purchase and putting items together. But when a customer is negotiating and they go, is that the best I can do if I add another item? When the chatbot comes back and says, I think you might want to add a second microphone, we can do that. This upside surprise on the level of intelligence of that conversation is very positive for the customer experience.
So does it pass the Turing test?
Not quite yet, but we're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's not quite clever enough yet, but it's...
No, I don't know. I don't know if anything passed the Turing test. It's a different conversation.
No, exactly. Yeah, you should. I did maths at uni, actually, so I'm quite excited. We're going to put some reinforcement learning in the bot, which is basically how Google DeepMind beat the Go grandmasters. So watch this space.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because I think I've found with these kind of chat things that they have improved an awful lot. They used to be very basic, and now it's getting pretty good.
We've got a fundamental strategic question, and if anyone on the back of this wants to get in touch and give me their view, is how much to make Nibble feel like an it, and how much to make Nibble feel like a human. We basically did some user research, and if you ask people, do you like negotiating in real life? In most scenarios, we've asked the question, we get about 50-50. So half the people say, yeah, I love negotiating. It's a bit of fun. I get a great deal. And half say, it scares the living daylights out of me and I don't like the conflict. But if you ask the question about a chatbot, 85% say they prefer that because it's less embarrassing and less scary.
So have you read Don't Never Split the Difference?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, because that was quite interesting. The idea in that asking, what do they call them? Asking certain questions, like the always kind of wearing out the other side by asking too many questions.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fascinating book. So
if you get on Nibble, you can ask Nibble to tell you a joke.
Nibble that's kind of the classic kind of Siri thing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. We've programmed all of those in.
So is it your to what extent these days do you have to develop your own AI, or is there's kind of presumably you can buy in from AWS or AI AI components?
So you can buy in the chatbot interface, right? And so what that does means you can program what they call intents rather than every single way that it might be phrased. You can program in 10 ways someone might make an offer, and the chat-based interface will use the natural language processing on your behalf to try and work out the 100 ways somebody might make an offer. But you have to program the way the bot speaks. So all of the text is our copy. And then the other thing is obviously we've created an algorithm to negotiate, right? So it can come back with numbers. So if you say 100, the bot will say 120. If you then say 105, the bot will then say 110 or whatever it will say. But it will also say it with a mood, so that when it comes back, it will say it in an optimistic way if you're very close to agreement, and it will say it in a pessimistic way if you're a long way off, to try and encourage you to, in exactly like you would with a human negotiating, to recognize where the killing ground is, if that makes sense.
Okay, so your time at a merchant bank, presumably the cutthroat world of merchant banking has helped you in your negotiation.
This is fundamentally a lot cleverer than anything I was asked to do in banking.
So in terms of, would you be integrating with other kind of chat systems? Because it seems to me, these days we've got lots of, there's Telegram, there's, WhatsApp, etc. And I'm quite surprised that we're not all using, for my retail side, I've been trying to use Facebook chat instead of using our own chat thing. Will eventually this be your, this something be an add-on for Facebook chat?
I would have thought so. If Facebook chat wants to use Nibble, I'm sure we could come to an agreement.
I'm sure you can just write an app for it. I mean, you don't even have to ask. You could probably just... Because
we think this is a part of the consumer journey that other people aren't tackling. And if they are, they aren't tackling it with enough focus on value, right? Like there's lots of customer service chatbots, but they effectively digitize your FAQ. Whereas this actually can have a conversation about value in a way it can evaluate two different paths, if you like. Shall we give you this item and free shipping, or should we ask you to bundle two items at the same time? And it can work out the difference in value and have a value-based conversation with a human on that. And if you think about voice commerce, I know McDonald's are working really hard on having a voice activated app on your smart speaker at home. And you can think about that. You go, can I have the McDonald's order I had last Tuesday? And she goes, oh, would that be the Big Mac and fries that you had last time? Yes, please. And at the end of that, you're not going to go, oh, by the way, Alexa, please could I write XJ21FJU into the voucher code box? You're just never going to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to go, can I get a discount? And Nibble can power that conversation, which we're quite excited about.
So you could, but how would you, okay, so isn't it just the case that everyone will be asking for a discount? Or maybe people are, is it, have you got any comparison between British people and say Chinese people? Because my experience with Chinese people is they're just much better at negotiating than I am.
Yeah, because everything's done through WeChat, right? Like, so it's just totally standard. I mean, look, I think in the UK, it depends what you're ordering. 85–90% of Domino's pizzas are ordered with a discount.
Yes, well, that's because well, pizza. I went to Pizza Express the other day and there wasn't a discount code and I was quite upset.
Yes,
I know,
really moving away from that.
I haven't paid full price in Pizza
since
Express.
the 90s.
Oh, not for years, not for 10 years, not for...
But everybody in the restaurant trade blames Pizza Express for introducing this in the 90s. You know what happened is the Times, the newspaper, offered to put that banner ad saying 2 for £10 because it sold more newspapers. So Pizza Express never paid for that promotion. I mean, obviously they gave you the discount in store, but they never paid the Times for the positioning because it sold more newspapers, and that was just the beginning of the end.
But it just gives. I mean, I suppose my worry on something like this is right. You have a chat box there. You're encouraging people to use it. They will always get a discount. Now, if it's a voucher code, I mean, I don't know what percentage. The people who are more price sensitive will go and look for a voucher code. And
I've looked at it. It's about 60% of customers.
We'll go and look for a voucher code. Yeah, well, that would be. But
if you look at the number of users of Honey, I think it's over 15 million now.
Yeah, so we would. I don't know what I would worry that absolutely everyone would get a voucher code, but I'm more interested. We're being more interested in something which increases people AOV. So I think it's that bit of your tool which I'm interested in, less the discount.
Yeah, but I think the point is, the interesting thing there is because you start with the negotiation, you start with a customer who's leaning into you. You start by saying, okay, I'm open for negotiation. Should we have a chat? And at that point, the customer's going, yeah, I'd like to have a chat. I'm really interested in making a purchase, and I'm sure there's a way we can make it work. Whereas if you just do a gift with purchase button, it's much, much less engaging. So I would argue that with this tool, the conversion is going to be higher.
Okay. Cool. So finally, one last question for you. What has inspired you recently?
It's a bit geeky, but I am quite excited about the maths.
You're excited about the maths?
I am quite excited about the maths behind this. Like there's basically a ton we can do to make Nibble smarter and cleverer. And if you think about a salary negotiation, for example, you go to your new employer and they say, oh, I'll offer you £10 an hour. And you say, you forget I've worked in this relevant area and I'm definitely worth at least £15 an hour. And at each stage, each person gives and takes more information. And a combination of the massive step changes in natural language processing, sentiment analysis, and this geeky reinforcement learning I'm just learning about in machine learning, there's actually quite a lot you can do to make it a very human-like experience.
So it's going to be, you're excited about making it better.
Yeah, I think because the better it is, the more it can do what you want it to do, and the less it looks like an alternative to a voucher code.
Okay.
So at the start, it looks like a voucher code that frankly converts more than a voucher code. But towards the end, it looks like an opportunity for a single brand to talk to millions of customers at the same time with very, very little data integration, right? Like you don't need to know anything about that person except what they're willing to talk to you about. So you don't have to scrape their Facebook. So from a GDPR point of view, it's a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I can imagine. So, I mean, do you actually pull in information about, say, the IP address and stuff like that? And no, it's just all GDPR.
Almost intentionally. I mean, maybe one day, maybe. I can see a scenario where Nibble says, "Hey, Trevor, tell me a little bit about yourself, and I might be able to get you a better deal." And you give your email address, and they go, "Oh, Trevor, I can see you're a loyal customer and you've purchased with us 5 times before. In that case, I definitely would like to give you a better offer."
Mm-hmm.
But it would be very
logged in.
But I like the idea of doing it within the chat so that anybody can buy, and it's only in your interests to share that information rather than, frankly, being cookied.
Which is on the way out.
Which is on the way out.
Yeah. Rosie, it's been great talking to you.
Thank
and
you
I
so
look
much.
forward to. I look forward to. We may well try out your system, and I look forward to seeing how it improves in the future.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, stop this.